Oh, hello, my name is Grandma Ginny. I work with RSVP of Dane County, which is for retired senior people, and I'm a foster grandparent. During school year, I'm at the school working with kids in their reading and their writing and all the other things that students learn. I have a lot of fun there. It's summertime now, and I'm going to read you a story. This is a story about all the things in the sky. And if you know, this is July when I'm doing this. Recently, there were pictures from a new telescope called the James Webb that had beautiful pictures of places telescopes have never picked up before. This is a story about people who were out at night looking at the stars they could see from our spot. And here's the story right now. I'm going to show it on the screen. It's called Pieces of Another World. And the author is Mara Rockcliffe. The illustrator is Salima Ali Khan. And this is a story of a father and a child in the night on an excursion to watch a meteor shower. It's told through the eyes of a child in awe of the night world. Rockcliffe's vivid descriptions make readers feel as though they too are watching the tiny bits of other distant worlds blazing into our own. This is from For the Creative Minds, a section in the Caribou Library, and it has some information about meteors at the end of the story. So we're going to take a look at that. Here we go. Look at this beautiful picture. My ears woke up before the rest of me. Jody, whispered Daddy. Wake up, Jody bird. My eyes woke up, but when they opened, it was still dark. Is it morning? I could hear the smile in Daddy's voice. Guess it's morning somewhere, but round here it's still Saturday night. He tapped me on the head. Get your shoes on, we're going out. Now I was awake all over. Going out? Out where? But he was gone. I pulled my shoes on over my bare feet and clattered into the kitchen. Where are you going, Mama? Oh no, where are we going, Mama? She shook her head and put her finger to her lips. She pointed to the door. I pushed the screen door open. Outside, Daddy sat behind the wheel of our old blue pickup truck. I climbed in. Where are we going, Daddy? He flipped on the radio. Jody bird, I've got a sight for you to see. I bounced in my seat. What kind of sight? Oh, he smiled. Just some pieces of another world. When he wouldn't say anything more, I just sang along to the music swirling from the radio. Scoodly oodly bop bop doo wada wada. I cranked my window down and let the breeze lift up my hair as we rolled through the empty streets. The hardware store was dark, and Carter's drugstore, too. Here's their car in the darkness. Out front of the super shop, where crowds of cars jostled and nudged all day, a single van sat in the giant parking lot, lonely and lost. There's the van. But further on, the creamy freeze was lit up like a carnival. Daddy pulled in. This wasn't the same old daytime creamy freeze I know. No little kids squeezing their cones too hard with ice cream dripping down their hands. No mamas saying, no, you can't have Jimmy's. Now you tell the lady chocolate or vanilla. Inside I saw teenagers out on their Saturday night eating hamburgers and playing pinball. I felt a little funny in my PJs and my shoes. One boy grinned at me and said, hey, sleepwalker. But he didn't say it mean, so I grinned back. Look at there. Daddy got a chocolate cone, and I got rainbow Jimmies on vanilla. She did get the Jimmies, didn't she, Lucky? We walked back to the truck, licking our cones. I've never been in town so late at night, I said. It is a piece of another world. Daddy smiled. Maybe so, but this is not the sight I'm taking you to see. We drove out of town, past the gas station, past the farm supply and the lumber yard. On my tongue, the ice cream melted, cold and sweet. The night blew its warm breath across my face, and that was sweet too. Look at who's out at night. What do you think these little animals are, with rings in their tails and a masked face? They're raccoons. They like to get people's scraps that they put out in the garbage cans. Look at here, deer. A big dark something bounded out into the road, and Daddy stopped the truck. It was a deer with antlers like the branches of a tree. It stared at us wide-eyed till Daddy flipped the headlights off. When he flipped them on again, the deer was gone. We came to a big field by the lake. In the morning, it's a swimming lake. In the evening, it's a fishing lake. But now, there were no kids in swimming suits with tire tubes, no men with fishing rods or sharp hooks hanging from their vests. Here's a kid with a tire tube. She's going to float in a tire. There's somebody swinging off of a tree. Here's a fisher person. But at night, most people were all home. Daddy pulled way out into the empty field, and I peered out over the headlights. Look, there's a cat up on the hill. He shook his head. That's a fox. Red foxes like to spend the night on high ground. Why? He curled his hands into the binoculars around his eyes. Why do you think? So they can see? Daddy nodded. A fox is curious. It doesn't like to miss a thing. Just like you, Jody Bird. He cut the engine, and the quiet blackness wrapped around us like a blanket. I can't see him, I told him. Give it time. Your eyes will get used to the dark. Way across the field, out where the woods began, there came a high, sad wail. I grabbed his arm. Oh, baby. Someone left a baby in the woods. He said, it's only a screech owl. It sure sounded like a baby crying. I shivered and moved closer to him. Oh, here's an owl too. Listen to this. Daddy leaned out his window and called, woo, 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 woo. From out of the darkness, a call came back. Woo, 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 woo. Who's out there, Daddy? That's another kind of owl, he said, a barred owl. My daddy used to say it calls, who cooks for you? Look at Barred, he's got kind of like stripes on him. I laughed, and then I said, you know, I've never been out by the lake so late at night. It is a piece of another world. Daddy smiled. Maybe so, but that is not the sight I brought you here to see. Well, what do you think it's going to be? By now, my eyes could make out shapes and edges in the dark. He pushed open his door, and I pushed open mine. He came around the truck and took my hand to help me down. I heard the creak and clang as Daddy dropped the tailgate. Then he gave me a boost. The truck belt felt soft and fuzzy. You laid blankets out, I said. We lay down side by side and stared up at the twinkling sky. Daddy said, watch. I watched. Nothing happened. Was this all the sight he brought me here to see? Daddy's pointing up at the sky. Then Suddenly, a streak of white cut through the sky. As soon as I saw it, it was gone. What was that? I asked. A meteor. Some folks call it a shooting star. Is it a real star? Daddy said, no. Stars are as big as planets, bigger even. Meteors are tiny, like a pebble or a grain of sand. It was high up as an airplane. Higher than that, he said. Much higher. I frowned. How can we see something that is so small and so far away? He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, this truck can go a pretty long way in an hour, can't it? Sure, I said. Well, I suppose it went that far in just 1 second. I laughed. We burn up the road. That's what a meteor does. It slams into our atmosphere and burns up. It burns right up. We see it burning. So you don't see the meteor, you see the fire that it has. Ooh, another white streak shot across the sky. I said, I can't believe something so beautiful. It's just an ordinary pebble. It's not ordinary, he said. Not at all. That pebble is a hey there from outer space, a tiny piece of some distant world. I thought about that for a while, and then I smiled. Daddy and I lay back and watched the meteors together. Most of them were white. A few looked green or yellow. Some even exploded at the end, like fireworks. But every single one we saw, I whispered the same words. Pieces of another world. And that's true. Now here's a section that talks about what meteors are. A meteoroid is a chunk of rock or metal moving through space. Most are tiny, like a pebble or a grain of sand, but some are as much as a mile wide. Wow, can you believe a mile wide? See if I can make this bigger. Yeah. And why do meteors shoot by so suddenly? Meteors move fast. They hit the Earth's atmosphere at up to 150,000 miles per hour. That's faster than I can imagine. At that speed, it doesn't take long for a speck of space dust to burn up. To catch sight of a meteor before it's gone, leave your telescope or binoculars at home. The best meteor spotting tool is a sharp pair of eyes and a dark, dark sky. What is a meteor shower? Gazing up into the sky on a typical night, you might see 1 or 2 meteors in an hour. But during an average meteor shower, you might see a meteor every minute. Why do all these extra meteors come? The Earth is passing through a trail of space debris left behind by a comet. A comet is a giant, dirty snowball orbiting or going around the sun. As the comet nears the sun, it starts to thaw, letting off a bright tail of gas and bits of dust and rock, which leaves behind a trail. When the Earth's own orbit takes us where the comet has been, we get a meteor shower. And here's a picture. Here's the sun and Mars, and the Earth is here. And this is called an asteroid belt. That's where all these little extra pieces of rock and so on that don't have a planet are just floating around in space. One of the greatest meteor showers ever was the Leonid storm in 1966, when meteors rained down at the rate of 40 per second. If you had been watching, how many would you have seen in 10 seconds? You would see 400 in 10 seconds. Wow. That's a lot of stuff floating around. Oh, look at this, Comet cookies. Did you ever know there were Comet cookies? I did not. Store-bought chocolate chip cookies will work for this, but try to put some of the space dust on top of the cookies. Oh, this is a recipe how to make a cookie. Well, I'm not going to read all that, but that sounds like kind of fun. Now, here's a little bit of things to know about watching meteors. Plan ahead. You can see meteors any night, but you'll see most during one of the big yearly meteor showers known as the Perseids. Oops, let's go back. Oh, shoot. We have to go all through this now so we can get to the end. We've seen these pages before, but they're fun to look at again, aren't they? Here we go. Oh my goodness. I saw a meteor shower one time. It is pretty interesting. All right. The Perseids come in August. It's July when I'm reading this. So if you read this soon, then maybe in August, if you watch the weatherman on television, he'll let you know when the Perseids occur, and maybe you can go outside in the middle of the night with your family to see them. And you have to set your alarm because the ideal time to spot meteors is in the very early morning, around 4 o'clock in the morning. Can you believe that? If you have a choice, pick a night close to a new moon or when the moon sets before 4 o'clock. It will give you better visibility. When the moon is in the sky, it's hard to see all the other small spots of light. So if you pick a date that has, this says a new moon, that means when the moon doesn't reflect any light because it's in the shadow of the earth. So if there's no moonlight, you'll be able to see the stars better and the meteors better. And you have to keep it dark. Get away from the street and the house lights if you can. If you must, use a flashlight and cover the light with red cellophane to keep from spoiling your night vision. Your eyes have special small spots in them that help you see at night. And they turn off when the light is brighter. So you have to let your eyes get used to the dark. And it says, pack smart, bring a blanket, a sleeping bag, or a folding lawn chair, and dress warmly, even in the summer. And then it says, don't forget to take chocolate and cookies, well, or a snack of some kind. So here, looking up in the sky, not every moving object or bright light in the sky is a meteor. Check this list of common night sights. There are meteors, which we learned about, airplanes, of course, satellites, stars, and planets. Lots of things up in the sky at night. And it's kind of fun if it's a nice night and the mosquitoes aren't too bad to be outside and watch for meteors in August. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the program. I sure did. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now if I can get out of here. And say goodbye. Thank you. There, now I can stop sharing. There we go. Okay. Thanks a lot. I'm going to say goodbye now, for real.